Welcome back. Thank you for coming. This is our second lesson for life. We will be talking about the dual purpose principle and the pair system principle, which we explained in our introductory presentation. There are two fundamental, absolute, unchanging, and eternal principles of life. The first is the dual purpose principle of mind and body, and the second is the pair system principle of male and female. The mind and body relationship is the pillar, it's vertical in nature, and the man-woman relationship is the beam. It's more horizontal in nature. Let's focus on the first of these two principles, the dual purpose principle. The dual purpose principle talks about the relationship of mind and body. The mind is internal. It is invisible, and yet the mind directs the body, external in nature and visible. Why are you listening to this presentation right now? Surely you have many other things to do, but something or someone must have invited you to listen to these presentations. Maybe you're sitting together with them, I'm not sure. But you decided to take time to listen to these presentations. It was your mind that made the decision, and your body is sitting in front of a computer screen or a television screen, and you're listening, and I'm grateful. Everything has an internal nature and an external form for mind and body. Animals, plants, molecules, atoms and particles, everything. We change the name. For example, in atoms, we call the mind instinct. It controls the behavior of the body. Why do birds fly in a V formation when they migrate? And the turtle, it will swim in the ocean for 20 years and come to the same beach that it hatched and walked into the ocean. 20 years later, it doesn't have a Google map or a GPS or a smartphone. It has instinct, and this is built in. But it controls the behavior of the animal. In the plant world, again, we change the name. It's called a response mechanism, and it's built in. For example, when you put a seed into the ground, you don't have to check, is the seed right side up or upside down? It doesn't matter. You just put the seed in the ground, because inside the seed, there is a mind. And the mind will direct the roots to go down and the stem to go up, even if it's planted upside down. And when this grows to full maturity, it continues this response mechanism, and the sunflower will track the sun from the east in the morning till the west in the evening. In the molecular world, let's start off at the smallest particle. Energy is the basis of particles. This comes from Einstein's theory of relativity, but it doesn't stop there. Particles create atoms, and atoms create molecules. Everything has a mind and body to it. If we take the example and see how natural law is like the mind of the atom or particle or molecule, let's take an example. Water. In the water molecule, there are 2 hydrogen and 1 oxygen, H2O. But the angle between the 2 hydrogen atoms is 104.5 everywhere. It doesn't matter where you are or what water you look at. The angle between those hydrogen atoms is always the same. This is the effect of this unchanging natural law. My question, if you have energy without a mind, or energy without direction, we have a special name for that. Bam! We call it the bomb. A lot of energy, no direction, It is destructive, not constructive, because there is no mind. The mind gives direction to the body. And if there is no mind, then chaos ensues. So that's kind of simple, and I think we already know that. That's Science 101. The important question is why? If we look at the animal, plant, and the molecular world, we see that the mind-body relationship is unlearned, instinctual, automatic, and programmed. How about us? Not the case. We have a special gift called responsibility. For a long time, scientists and biologists are looking to find out what is the difference between the animal kingdom and the plant and the human beings, between human beings and animals. They thought maybe it was social networks, but we have social networks. And they thought, well, uniqueness was we have language, but animals also have languages. And even when I grew up going through school, we were told and taught that the uniqueness of human beings is that we make tools and animals do not. That's also not true. There's a bird, go to Discovery Channel and you can see there's a bird that takes a twig and puts it in its mouth. Then it goes to the mud hole to get mud, and it uses the mud, not the twig, to build a mud house. The twig is a tool. So what is the difference then between human beings and the rest of creation? Called responsibility. And when we understand the value of this responsibility, it gives us purpose, meaning, value, and freedom, uniquely different than the animal world. This is a special gift from God. Religions are trying to teach us this fundamental difference. For example, in the Bible, ask and it will be given. Seek and you will find, and knock and the door will be opened. We all know this Bible verse. But what does it teach? It teaches responsibility. If we don't ask, don't seek, and don't knock, what will happen? Nothing. Human responsibility. In the Quran, there is no compulsion in religion. God will teach and give direction and give His holy book, but we have responsibility. Even God cannot force us or compel us in the end. In Buddhism, it is you who must make the effort. Great people of the past only show the way. Our parents, our religious leaders, our teachers, our community leaders, they will show the way, but we have responsibility to decide to follow. In Confucianism, the master said, have no deprived thoughts. Well, who is going to clean your mind? Who's going to make your mind clear without deprivation? That's our responsibility. In Hinduism, it says this: the mind is the best friend, or the mind will remain your greatest enemy. Etched in stone in Paris, France, are the UNESCO Constitution articles. One of them says very clearly, war begins in the minds of men. War begins in the minds of men. Well, if we exploit children for our own benefit financially, where does that begin? In the minds of men. And if we rape women for personal pleasure, where does that begin? In the minds of men. So our strategy, the strategy of UPF, is to educate the mind. If the mind is clear and the mind is strong, then we regulate ourselves. We don't need policemen. No one wants to be policed, and no one likes being a policeman. We have to do it sometimes because there are still selfish people, but if we educate the mind and make it clear and strong, then we govern ourselves. So that means there are two types of education. We need education to be smart, And each of us will be a genius in some unique way. And we need education to be good. And we must learn these moral values, these basic principles of life. The second one is more important. Why? We need both. It's not one or the other. We need both. But in terms of priority, the second one is more important. Why? Because everyone needs to be good. And we need to be good in the same way, with the same values and principles. So if we look at our education system today, because we haven't discovered those universal principles of goodness, those universal values that we need so much, we emphasize being smart. And it's a strong emphasis in the education system. And, well, we hope and pray that people are good. The result, well, I have a big head. I can easily become arrogant or proud, and a small heart because, well, I don't have the public-mindedness that I need to. I just have my self-motivation. American President Theodore Roosevelt put it this way: to educate a man in mind and not in morals is to educate a menace to society. We think just by having our children learn in school, graduate from a good university, get a good job, that's enough. No, it is not. We also have to have the moral education that goes along with it. So we need to change our priorities. We need to emphasize teaching to be good. On top of that, then teach to be smart. Everyone will be smart in a unique way. The final product, a normal head and a big heart that has self-regulation, that I know what is right and what is wrong. My conscience is my guide. So, this is the most important question that we will ask in this series, Lessons for Life. Can we find a universal definition of goodness? It's absolutely needed. Can we find that? And here's the hard part. All religions must agree without violating their religious tenets, because they won't, and we shouldn't ask them. Would a Christian pastor allow the distribution of condoms in his church in order to help solve HIV/AIDS? No. Would they do that in a mosque or a mandir? No. So we need to find a definition of goodness that is universal, and all religions agree, and we don't change or jeopardize any of the faith traditions. That's very hard. Father Moon did that. And that's why, as I said in the last presentation, I believe Father Moon is a genius. Let's see what Father Moon's definition of goodness is, and then apply it to various religions, and even beyond religion, to other areas of study. Very simple. The fundamental principle of goodness: live for the sake of others. That's it. Does that apply? Well, let's look at our Christian faith. Number one, Jesus said, whoever seeks to gain his life will lose it. That means selfishness. I just want to take. I will lose my life. But whoever loses his life will preserve it. If I seek to lose my life, I gain my life. If I seek to gain my life, I lose it. That's the paradox. Also in the Bible, 1 Corinthians. Let no one seek his own good, but the good of his neighbor. No one seek his own good. I cannot be good all alone. I need to be good in relationship to my neighbor. Don't seek goodness alone, but seek the good of your neighbor. In Philippians, do nothing from selfishness or conceit, but in humility, count others better than yourself. Wow. Don't do anything for selfish motivation. If you count others or want others to be better than you, then you will give and give and give. And that's what parents do to their children. Parents give and give and give again, and they forget what they've given and they want to give more. Because parents want their children to be better than them. A good teacher in school will give and give and give until the student actually learns the subject matter. 2 Corinthians. Whosoever sows sparingly will also reap sparingly, and whosoever sows bountifully will also reap bountifully. God loves a cheerful giver. Wow. Be bountiful in giving. Live for the sake of others, without hesitation and without reserve, without calculating or counting. In Matthew, it says, be perfect as your heavenly Father is perfect. Well, how do we do that? In the same chapter, he answers the question. If you want to be perfect, go, sell your possessions, and give to the poor. Then come, follow me. I want to be perfect. I can be perfect only in giving to others. This is what Father Moon is saying. Live for the sake of others. The image in Christianity that epitomizes this concept should be etched in the heart of every Christian. Jesus did more than just live for the sake of others. He died for the sake of others. And in the midst of dying on the cross, Father, forgive them. They know not what they are doing. It's in every religious tradition. In Islam, do not expect in giving any increase for thyself. Give without expectation. Sacrifice without reward. Live for the sake of others. Give hesitantly. Even die for the sake of others. And in Islam it says this concept, ishtiyar. In English it's called altruism. It's a notion preferring others to one's self. In Buddhism, cut the love of self and develop the path to peace. What? If you love yourself, you cannot find peace because you will not sacrifice. You will not live for the sake of others. You will just live for yourself. So in selfishness, you cannot find peace because you're just living for yourself. Also, Buddha said this, misers, stingy, selfish people, certainly do not go to heaven, but noblemen find joy in generosity. Joy and generosity. Live for the sake of others. Yes, the words are different. In different religious teachings, there are different words, but the concept, the principle is the same. Joy in generosity. And this gives them joy in the higher worlds. In Confucianism, to nourish the mind, there's nothing better than to make the desires few. If you want a healthy mind, then you should not be selfish. An unhealthy mind is a selfish an unhealthy mind is a selfish mind. That's correct. A selfish mind is unhealthy. Unhealthy in terms of the emotions and also in terms of your lifestyle. To nourish the mind, be unselfish. In Hinduism, of sacrifices, the sacrifice performed by those who desire no reward is the nature of goodness. Sacrifice without reward. So, I ask a question. What is the animal that is most valuable to human beings? And people will say the dog and the cat and the bird and the cow and many other animals are mentioned. But when we ask the question in terms of this concept of giving or living for others and rephrase the question, what is the animal that serves human beings the most? Then the answer is very clear. It's the cow or the ox. You plow the field. Can you plow the field with a dog? No. Can you get milk from a cat? No. It's the ox that can sacrifice the most for us. It never hesitates. It's hot today, and I'm going to go on strike, and I'm not going to plow the field. That never happens. Living for the sake of others. And this is why every religion, including Hinduism, worships or venerates the cow. In China, they put the ox on the river to protect it from flooding before they were able to build dams. In Egypt, the goddess Hathor is worshipped and venerated. And even Abraham's sacrifice, he made an offering of a heifer, a goat, a ram, a dove, and a pigeon. And the top of the offering, on the top, was the heifer, the highest stage, or we say the completion stage of the offering. The lesson is this: all cultures are trying to teach the same lesson. Sacrificing for others is good. This is the very definition of goodness itself. This is the universal definition of what it means to be good. Father Moon put it this way in his autobiography: a true life is a life in which we abandon our private desires and live for the public good. This is a truth taught by all major religious leaders, past and present, East and West. Going back to the theme that we had in our first introductory presentation, you do not need to change your religion to be good. This is simply amazing. This principle is already in every religion. We don't need to change our religion. Wow! Think of what we have just uncovered together. A concept of goodness that is universal, incorporated in all religions without violating the tenet of those individual faith traditions. In fact, if anything, we have enhanced it. But let's go beyond that and look at this concept in a larger society. Excuse me. Sigmund Freud, the father of psychoanalysis, psychology, he called it delayed gratification or impulse control. He said this was an important component of emotional intelligence and maturity. Control your impulses. Don't have just the desire for yourself, but for the sake of others. Don't seek your own gratification, your immediate gratification. Delay that gratification. Have in your heart, in your mind, the benefit of others. In the book The Good Society, Robert Buehler and others put it this way: the most profound decisions about justice are not made by individuals as such, but by individuals thinking on behalf of institutions. If individuals think on their own behalf, then it's self-centered. But they think on behalf of institutions. Children think on behalf of the family. Citizens think on behalf of the nation. Martin Luther King, who led the civil rights movement in the United States, put it this way: life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? He said this is the most persistent, most urgent question. And we would agree, this is the fundamental principle of life itself, living for the sake of others. Mother Teresa put it like this. I love this quote: give, but give until it hurts. When you give a donation, do you search for the coins in your pocket so they cling when you put them in the offering bin? Or do you pull out your wallet? And when you pull out your wallet, do you look for the big bills or the small bills? Give, but give until it hurts. Live for the sake of others. Of course, this is the epitome of her life as well. So, in order to understand this concept, let's look at it a little bit more. Buy a big mirror and look at the mirror, and inside the mirror you will see there's a mind and a body. Well, okay, we want to create good character. How do you do it? The mind is up and the body is down. The mind, think about the mind. We call this a dual purpose. There are two purposes. The mind has a purpose and the body has a purpose. They are different purposes. It's a dual purpose principle. What is the purpose of the mind? What is the principle that operates in the mind? Well, we can understand that by asking ourselves, how many senses do we have? We have 5. How many senses are here in the area of the mind? And people will say 4, 5, 4, 5. Actually, there are 5. 4 are unique. I look and you look. I speak and you listen. We can smell the flowers together. We can have tea and lunch together. So 4 of the 5 senses are exclusively to operate in the area of the mind. And they are for the sake of the others. I'm looking at you, listening to you, smelling the flowers with you, sharing meals with you. They are for public interaction. From the neck down, the body is for private, personal, self-maintenance. I have a heart, and my heart has to beat in order to circulate the blood. If my heart stops beating, who will die? Not you, me. I have lungs because I need air, and so I breathe. For me, for my personal maintenance and well-being. And we eat food together, it comes to digest in my stomach. For my energy. The next morning, what happens? Well, the food goes a little bit lower beyond just the digestive tract of the stomach. It goes into the lower intestines. And naturally, we need to go to the bathroom. So what do? It's natural, it's normal. We go and we find a little room and we close the door. Did you ever notice every bathroom has a door on it, or should have? When you build a home, no one builds a home with a bathroom without a door. No one puts the toilet in the living room. We don't do that because instinctually we know the private must stay private. And yet I have to go to the bathroom, so I need to relieve myself. I'll have to take off my clothes. So in order to keep the private private, I close the door. Public is up, private is down. This live for the sake of the others. This is for my self-maintenance. But let's see how this applies in establishing ideas of right and wrong. This is our responsibility to prioritize. We didn't create the mind, we didn't create the body, but we prioritize it. It's our responsibility. The desires of the body, we need to push those desires down. The body desires food, shelter, clothing, and so religions teach us to fast. Go without food. Don't sleep and stay up sometimes all night with a prayer vigil. So control the body. Take the desires of the body and push them down. That is their rightful place. And take the desires of the mind and push them up. So we have our Bible or Quran or Gita or Dhammapada, and we read it. And when we put it on the altar, we never close it because we're not supposed to read it and read and read again. Take these truths, these teachings, and put them in our mind. Lift up our mind. Our mind should be stronger. And we put these verses into song, and we sing them, and we pray them. Strengthen the mind. Put the mind up and the body down. That's the right priority. Let's see what happens when we get this mixed up. Public, up, private, down. Mind up, body down. But in human relationships, if I invert the priority and get it upside down, and I'm only interested in my own happiness, then that relationship will have conflict. Inevitably. That's why Buddha said, cut the love of yourself to develop the path to peace. Cut the love of yourself. That conflict, if we have bigger and bigger responsibilities, grows into war. Let's take another example. public and private, in terms of art. The purpose of art is to inspire us, to give us strength in our mind, and inspire us to do things that maybe were unimaginable. Let me show you an example of mind and body unity in terms of art. It's meant to inspire us and to be able to strengthen our mind to want to do more, things that we sometimes can't imagine or even dream of. Look at what is happening here. There are maybe 20 or more of these drummers, but it sounds like one drum. How much discipline this takes, how much practice this takes, hours and hours of practice this takes. Not only do they have to have mind and body unity within themselves, but between each other. Let me ask a question. If you are the owner of a factory and you are producing products, and you have these young people with this level of diligence, self-control, and self-discipline in your factory, will the quality of the product be high or low? Obviously, it'll be very high. The point is this: mind-body unity is not just a theory. It creates value. It creates products that are of high quality. That's the important point. If we invert the mind and body, what happens? Well, instead of living for the sake of others, I want to live for the sake of myself. What type of art or stimulation will I give other people? We call it filth and obscenity and pornography. I will take a little girl, make sure she's of legal age so that I don't get into trouble. I don't care about the girl, I care about myself not getting into trouble. Pay her a little bit of money, ask her to take off her clothes and take her picture, and I will sell it. But I don't care about that girl. I care about making money. I don't care what family she came from. I don't care about her future family. I just want to make money. I don't care about the impact on society. I just want to make money. How destructive the mind and body can be when it is inverted. Let's take another example. Mind and body relationships in industry. And let's say I'm a factory worker. Every factory has waste material. Well, what do I do with it? Well, if I'm public-minded, I would reprocess it. But if I am not public-minded and I'm selfish, well, I don't want to reprocess it because it costs money. Instead, I will just dump it in the river, dump it in the ocean, dig a hole, dump it there, dump it in the sky, because I don't care about anything but my profit. In business, if the mind and body are inverted, we call it corruption. Taking public money and put it in my private pocket and hope I don't get caught. The biggest corruption scandal in human history was Enron in America. In 2001, that company went bankrupt and lost $67 billion. Wow. So I learned a lesson from this. Two things. Poverty does not cause corruption. The people at Enron, especially the leaders, the CEOs, were very wealthy. One man had 11 houses, 11, and 3 boats, and still wants more. Poverty does not cause corruption. And number 2, being smart doesn't prevent it. Surely they were educated. Surely they had college degrees, probably from the best universities in America. So just being smart doesn't stop it. We need something more than just being smart. Let me take one more example because this is so important. In Korea, in 2014, This ship turned upside down and capsized and sank. Inside the ship, 304, mostly children, died. Why? There was no storm. There was no malfunction of the ship. Everything was working normally. Why did this ship turn upside down and capsize and kill these children? The answer is very simple. The mind-body problem. If you're the captain of the ship, the public side of your responsibility is the safety of the passengers. The private side, yes, you need to make money. You need to make a profit, but not at the expense of the safety of the passengers. But this captain turned it upside down. And he said, I just want to make money. And I will violate the rules and regulations of the shipping industry in order to make more money. So in the bottom of the boat, he put 1, 2, 3 times the legal limit of cargo in the bottom of the boat. Why? More cargo, more money. More cargo, more money. More cargo, more money. He didn't even tie it down. And the boat made a sharp turn. The cargo turned over. And the boat capsized and killed these children. Unnecessarily. Wow. So let's look at this relationship of mind and body and what we call living for the sake of others. My question. We live for the sake of others, okay? Who is the first other that we live for? Who's the first other? We live for the sake of others, but who's the first one? We have to be very clear on that. My answer? It's our parents. They are the first people that we live for the sake of, and that's what children should be doing, is living for the sake of their parents. They love and honor their parents. And when children do that, we call it filial piety, the love of a child toward their parents. That creates mind and body priority in the right order, because the mind side, or the public side, I love my parents more than I love myself. And naturally the child develops good character. This is very important. This is the key to developing good character, living within this relationship of love between parents and children. Added to this, it becomes our conscience. The good character that we create in our family becomes the conscience that leads our life. So if I have a strong conscience and a clear conscience, I don't need laws and regulations to govern me. I can live without laws. I want to live by the law, not to skirt along the side and get as close as I can and yet be legal and still be, in many ways, immoral. Father Moon put it this way. Moral norms arise from the conscience, not from laws. The foundation of the conscience is goodness itself. So, the standard of goodness is the standard of the conscience. So this means we need this absolute standard of good and evil. Then we can start to build together a conscience that governs ourselves, whatever our religious background, whatever our nationality or ethnicity, whatever our agenda. We can start to develop a conscience that is as clear and as crystal, as clear as crystal. Father Moon calls it high noon, 90 degrees, where the sun is directly above and there is no shadow. So, it begins like this. Within the individual, we develop good character by living for the sake of our families. They are more important than us. We become filial children. But our community is more important than our family. We become good citizens. We pay taxes and we obey the laws. I'm a good citizen. But the beginning of that is learned in the family. The nation is more important than the community. I become a patriot. Well, we should all be patriots, not just the soldier on the battlefield, but the businessman should be a patriot. The teacher should be a patriot. Everyone needs to be a patriot. The world is more important than the nation. And this is our dilemma with global warming and that issue. Ultimately, we become children of God. This is the critical basis on which goodness expands. The seed is the family. So that means what we talked about in the first presentation, this is scalable. It's the same principle. Living for the greater good. Always have the greater good in mind. And it's scalable. Confucian put it this way: filial piety is the root of all goodness. In the Bible, in both the Old and New Testament, honor your father and mother. And in the Quran it says, worship God alone, worship Allah alone, and do good unto your parents and near of kin. So again, the concept of filial piety is clearly part of the Quranic teachings. UNESCO says and defines the concept of youth is the period of transition from the dependence of childhood to interdependence as members of a community. So let's explain this. We start off as children, infants, and we are dependent. Well, we can't think of others but only ourselves. I'm dependent on everyone else. If I'm hungry, I want to be fed. And adulthood is interdependence, where we become responsible, mature adults. I am dependent. I can only think of myself. If I'm hungry, I cry. Give me food now. Ah! And the baby doesn't think, well, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. Mommy's tired. I'll wait until 7 o'clock for breakfast. No, I'm hungry. Feed me now. That's the only thing the baby, and it's immaturity. It's not wrong or evil. It's just immaturity at this stage of life. That's where we begin, but we're not supposed to stay there. We grow not only physically in size, but also grow in our awareness of others, and we become interdependent. We learn to think of others more than for ourselves. This is the path to maturity. The teenager is caught in the middle. Shall I think of myself? Shall I think of others? And they vacillate. We need to help them. And we can help them by teaching them not only with our words, but with our actions and coaching and guiding them along the way. So we have to become mature adults in order to guide our teenagers through this transitional period. This is the transition that UNESCO is talking about. Father Moon said this: to realize that we exist for the sake of others is a great achievement that will change our lives. He called this a great achievement. It's a great achievement. Wow. Let's put it very clear and simple. Immaturity means I think of myself and I don't even have the capability to think of others. We are supposed to transition. Watch carefully. Wow. And what do we transition to? Where we think of others. And we call this maturity. This is the transition that each and every person needs to go through, no matter who they are. Doesn't matter their nationality, their religious background, or anything. It's responsibility to make this transition. Father Moon said this: live for the sake of others. We have seen that this concept is universal. It applies in all religions. It applies in psychology, sociology, the civil rights movement. It applies in everyday life. It applies in our business world. It is a universal, absolute principle of goodness. If we have this foundation, then we can start to build societies that become interdependent and responsible. And we can build a world of peace and prosperity that is sustainable. Thank you very much for your time.